I'm from an organization called Mfpundopedia. We are an IT and solution company. We do software development, custom IT solutions, and also, if you're in IT, anything that is IT you can do. We also supply hardware if we have to, right? So today, I'm going to be talking around digitization or modernization of the classroom, right? So, number one, I think the way that the education framework or how the Department of Education operates should change. In what sense? The development of our kids is supposed to be morphed or evolving around the changes that are happening in the world, right? So we have a very rigid education system that I think 4 ministers have come promising us that they're changing it and they never did, right? And it sounds simple when somebody is saying it, but if you go look at it legislatively, you will see that it's very difficult for somebody to change how our education system is structured. So before we even talk about digitization, we must think about what are we digitizing? What are we teaching our kids? What are they supposed to be learning from this e-learning platforms or digital systems that we are saying we want to, implement in our schools? And also, I want to talk about seriousness of our, public sector. I think the only day we will say we are very serious about everything is the day that education becomes the number one priority. If we can procure laptops for workers, why can't we procure tablets for kids? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ori, for that interlude. Going back to the topic of digital government services, I want to ask Dino to get ready. We want to now shift the conversation slightly before we go for lunch. And this shift is to talk about how do we center citizens in our evolution of digital government services. And to speak to us as someone who is, I think, the right person to speak to us from National School of Government, particularly from a lens of how do we educate the public service with this shift as we accelerate the move of services from being physically delivered to starting to be digitally delivered. How do we equip our public service? And there's an interesting statistic that continues to keep me up at night, which I think you guys are aware of and deal with on a daily basis. It's that 2%, only 2% of the public service has technical skills. That's a very small number for our ambition of moving digital. And so the right people to talk to us about it, I think, are the National School of Government. So let's give a round of applause for Dino as he just tees up his presentation and gets ready to talk to us about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, when the program was initially presented, you would have seen it. It said I was supposed to be after lunch. And I said, okay, after lunch, stomachs are full. How do I get through the session? And now it's changed. Now we have empty stomachs. So I'm standing between you and the empty stomach. So I'm going to try and be quick, colleagues, just to share with you some of our work with the National School of Government. If you are not familiar with us, we are a government training institution within the portfolio of public service and administration. So that's me, Dino Poonsamy. If I was in a school, you'd probably call me a teacher, but I'm not a teacher at the school. So there are a few things that I'd like to share with you. Of course, I'm not going to stand here preaching to you. I think all of you probably know more about, about technology than I do. I think the whole conference, we've been listening to this, we've been talking about it. What we do know, though, is that technology is changing how we've worked and how we have been working and how we are working. So what we went through during COVID pandemic has changed. We now realized a lot of things from the COVID pandemic, and it has changed the way we work. But it doesn't mean that we have to go back to the old ways of working. What is important, though, is in the conversations that you've been listening to this morning in the presentations, all of the wonderful work, the AI, now, around, schools, the school students and classrooms, all of that will fail if public servants are not ready to the task. If public institutions are not deeply rooted in this, we will never be able to get through it. The point on the second bullet says we have to think generationally. We have to think generationally, not for ourselves. What does it mean for our children and our grandchildren that follow, and what is it that we want to leave for them behind? When you talk about generational issues, always think about the Great Wall of China. One generation didn't stop building to say, well, we can't continue this wall. It took thousands of years, but it was built. So we have to have that. We have to have the resilience to be able to adapt, to innovate, and to be able to maintain a vision that transcends these immediate challenges. So exactly what the colleagues have been saying, we have to be creative. We have to be innovative in what we have to do. Now, here's an important point. It's from an OECD, working paper on public governance. It says that as governments, we have multiple roles to be playing. And you've heard from SITA, you've heard from DCDT. We have the role of convener. As government, we convene what has got to happen in the state. We have the role of financier. You've heard SITA, now the automated system. We are also users of what has to be implemented. At the same time, we have to be co-developers. We have to co-develop with private sector, with the innovators. And lastly, of course, it's the regulators. So as government, you've got all of these roles to play collectively to make sure that digital transformation or whatever innovation we want to introduce can work. How do we do all of this here? We've got to make sure that we overcome these obstacles. And what are some of those obstacles? Strategic vision and leadership commitment. If you don't have that within organizations, it will fail. Starting from the top, if the head of department, if the DG, if the CEO of an organization doesn't believe in this, it will fail. Suitable organizational and government frameworks, new working methods. Part of the challenge we have in government is that we are fixated on organizational structures. We don't change posts. We don't change the functionality of posts because we keep it the same and we expect to get different results out of those posts. Now, I thought I'll share this with you. It's from the Chandler Good Government. It was a report that was done of about 120 countries. The school actually launched this report about 2 weeks back here in Pretoria, and it's part of the regional report. And you'll see the circle part. Apologies for the small fonts. I'm sure you'll get the presentation. But data capability is one of the indicators that is measured in this Good Government report. And it's under the pillar that talks about strong institutions. So there are other pillars there you could see, but these are the indicators there. So if we don't get data correct, it becomes problematic for us when we want to be assessed about how good we are as government. Now, here's some lessons that I think were quite important from some of the countries that participated. With a country like Indonesia, it's a very big country with a lot of small islands. They have very strong coordination. So there are just 2 ministries that are responsible for this. In South Africa, we would call it the Ministry of Communication and Digital Technologies, and we would call it the Ministry of Public Service and Administration. And there are 2 ministries that that are responsible for coordinating. Why I'm raising this is because sometimes we have too many in this space and we don't understand where the coordination levels are. In the case of Jamaica, Jamaica says the future is digital. They accept that. They accept that the advent of AI can sound terrifying, but we have to do it. Governments have to, in as much as it may frighten us, we still have to do it. There's no turning back on this. And lastly, with our sister country here in Tanzania, you can do all of the beautiful work at national government, at provincial government. If municipalities don't change, service delivery doesn't change. In Tanzania, 70% of the population rely on local government service delivery. And I think we can take it here in our own context in South Africa. If our municipalities are not up to this task, it's pointless having national and provincial governments and SOEs fully digitally transformed and municipalities being left behind. So why it matters to us, I mean, you might be familiar with this, but we have the Constitution with a set of values and principles of public administration. Makes it important for us. We have to make sure that we use resources efficiently, economically, and effectively. We have the National Development Plan that says to us it's a vital enabler towards improving service delivery. And the Batopili the white paper of 1997 still holds true today. If we need to transform the lives of people, we have to make sure that we transform service delivery. So, the issue of access to services, we're now being constrained. Now we're seeing a lot of the services that are moving from the presentations. But how many times have we heard the examples where citizens go to a service point and they are turned back because there's the time that the office closes and so forth. We find this, this level of inconvenience, people having to travel long distances, having to visit multiple departments for services, and the fact that even at a service delivery point, there are silos, there's no integration of the systems. And I think that has been a big part of the conversation now within the GovTech conference. So exactly what Very has been talking about, the President has said it. We need to have this reform in the public service. He's called for the implementation of a digital identity system. There's no turning back for us, colleagues. This is the way that we have to go. This is the way government has to transform. I'm trying to move faster through the slides so that we don't have hunger pangs, but I'm sure you'll get the presentation. This one was just quickly a report by the United Nations e-government strategy that shows South Africa is ranked 103 out of 199 countries, ranked 40 out of 193 countries on the e-government index, and 97 out on the digital public infrastructure, what DDG was talking about just now. On the report of Chandler, South Africa is rated 5th in Africa and rated 77th with the index of 120 countries. That's on the Good Government Index. So why is it important for us to accelerate amongst the public servants? The transition is not just about technology, but about the people. How do we deliver inclusive and citizen-centric services? The public sector workforce has to be fully equipped with the right digital competencies. The strategy developed by DCDT, the National and Future Digital Skills Strategy of, I think it's 2020, says that the National School of Government must be able to develop digital leadership skills, implement digital literacy programs, particularly for frontline services, and with an emphasis around data management and data analytics. And then, of course, what was spoken about now, the digital transformation roadmap, also about the role that the school has got to play in making sure that we do empower public servants. Now, the SITA has also done some work around the present and the future public service, and these are 5 broad areas that they've identified. The first one around work readiness skills. So again, you'll see the point around digital literacy, basic fundamental human skills or soft skills, leadership and management, and then the whole big chunk around technology skills, and then the last one, functional. What is important here, colleagues, is that technology skills must not be seen in isolation. you cannot lose the human element of what we have to do replaced by artificial intelligence. You cannot be functioning without empathy when you serve the citizen. You cannot, outsource active listening skills to a robot. You've got to do that yourselves. So, in as much as we need to build the technology skills, we cannot lose sight of all the other skills that we have to have. So, again, apologies for this. You can see from the SITA report, it shows you what are some of the IT skills. It shows you here what is the desired state for emerging qualifications, a lot around data science, green computing, cybersecurity, the professionalization of the public sector. I'll speak to that. Some of the hard-to-fill positions, artificial intelligence, business and systems analysis, big data, some of that which is emerging, as part of the occupations that is needed for government based on emerging occupations. And there you'll see at the last column that says the gaps identified. 4IR training programs, software-related training, sector-specific professionalization, government digital transformation, ICT qualifications. You'll see at the bottom, it also talks about what is there at the highest levels in terms of the emerging qualifications, IT support, the current state of specializations within government gives you all the list that the IT professionals have in government. And of course, there it says the highest being science. So what do we do as the National School of Government? We have a plan, we have a curriculum architecture that we have to professionalize the public servants. There are programs that we wish to be working. We are now on a pathway of creating academic programs, some of the occupational qualifications, and how do we do that in the various areas. So we've been doing a lot of work already, the e-learning, the blended learning. What we will be introducing is micro-learning, so we want to take very small chunks of what needs to be learned, and right at the bottom you'll see the immersive learning that would enable public servants to be able to understand without having to be at a certain place, but get to understand what they have to do. We have strong partners now. You've heard even yesterday as well, you've seen the CEO Trevor from NEMISA there. We have all these partnerships with Microsoft, with NEMISA, with Centec, University of Chile, the World Economic Forum. All of these offer us opportunities. So where we don't have the capability to develop these digital skills, these are the partners that are offering it. And we would really, really urge you to take up these opportunities. These are quick courses. They are free in many instances. Please enroll for them so that you are able to build your own skills. Of course, as I said, the professionalization is important. You heard in plenary this morning one of the representatives from the professional body. We are working with them to professionalize the ICT profession. And this is what we have to go through, these 5 pillars to make sure that we have professional and capable public servants that can support. Maybe the point that Kabelo was talking about earlier on the issue of understanding the needs of the citizens and the services. So this is very quick anecdotal stuff that we've done with some of our learners on a specific program. And you'll see some of the issues that are being raised there, colleagues. Firstly, a reluctance by public servants to use digital applications. How many times have you seen it? I don't know if you've seen in your own departments, especially HR, they're afraid to use systems. So you still have to email your Z83 and your CV, and they print and all of that, right? There's a reluctance about the use of digital applications. But when you accelerate this capability, there's also the challenge that from the front end, it may look good. The system may look good. But when it gets into the department, those that have to use, that have to download, is a problem. And which then creates the problem because the citizen wants to use, at a front line. But those at the back office is where the problem lies. And I think one of the delegates raised this. I put in brackets that China is a case in point. We had a symposium 2 weeks back with one of the Chinese academics. And he was talking about China's growth. And one of the points that he made, which I think is very important. He says when they have a problem in China, I mean, he was talking more around industrialization. If there's a problem with a project, they deploy 1,000 technicians to fix that. There's 1,000 technicians that are deployed, fix it so that you move. Why I'm raising this, I mean, I'm not sure how many here are public servants or CIOs, but in government, we are afraid to raise our hand and say we need help. We don't raise our hand. You'll never hear of a CIO in this department calling another CIO to say, come and help me. I'm stuck here. So we need to change that mentality. If we are going to succeed in this, you have a problem, reach out, fix the problem, but you cannot be, as a CIO sitting with this problem and then you are ready to write out RFP to go to private sector to come and fix the problem when the solutions can be amongst your colleagues. So I think we really have to change that level of mindset. And then the last point that says the back office becomes a dark hole as the business process is not set up to channel applications. And that's what happens in many instances. The information gets through the system, but those at the back office don't know. I can tell you my CFO is sitting here. We were on the negative end with with the AG in this financial year, in the last financial year, because we implemented a system that we thought was innovative, that was taking us out of paper-based into a fully electronic system. But because we did innovate, we took the risks and we paid the price. And so in many departments, we are afraid to innovate because we are afraid of non-compliance. And that's a culture that we also have to be looking at changing. In my conclusion slide, I just want to say, from my own perspective, I think these are the 6 building blocks that are important for any government department or, public sector agency. You've got to have leadership commitment and strategy, as I said, is very important. If not, there's failure. You have to understand the investments that you're making and how you deploy this. Public trust and service efficiency is important. If those who use your system, the services that you provide, don't trust you, don't trust the data with you, it becomes problematic. How do you protect the data? How do you manage integrity of that? How do you build the skills and the capacity building? And lastly, as I said, the institutional architecture and the functional shift. If you don't change the structure, you don't change the profiles of jobs, don't expect miracles. Don't expect miracles out of introducing AI. It's not going to happen. The last points there, just those last 5 points is from my former boss and friend, Professor Busani, who was the former principal of the school. And so in one of his writings, these are the 5 points that he made. To build an AI-driven South Africa, all sectors of society, led by the public sector, must fully commit to implementing digital and future skills. Leadership across all sectors must demonstrate strong commitment to AI, again, learning from the Chinese economy, where enterprises leverage AI innovation to enhance efficiency. Third point, data analytics and modeling should be ingrained to support evidence-based policy and decision-making. Public servants must be reskilled to focus on data analytics and AI. This requires a shift in the performance and development management systems to prioritize the innovations such as design thinking and strategic foresight over mere compliance. We must create spaces for public servants to ideate and innovate, and this can happen with the relevant partnerships. I hope you enjoy lunch, colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. I think are there any questions for Dino before he walks off the stage? As he walks off the stage. There is a question, no? Yes. Was that a question? Sorry, we have a question for you. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Oh, how do we get the presentations? We'll coordinate with the GovTech team to make sure they're available for everyone. Sorry, there is still a question. Hang 10.
Hi, Dino. Thank you for the presentation. Very insightful. I think the last line on your last slide spoke to public-private partnerships. How do we go about having that conversation with your organization?
So, so it's specific to the National School of Government. Okay, so we can meet during lunch. There's my boss sitting there as well, so we will chat.
Well, thank you so much, Dino, representing the National School of Government and our National School of Government colleagues. Colleagues, this is our favorite time of the conference. It's lunchtime. Please feel free to go and grab some lunch. I understand lunch is straight down on the corridor. We will be starting again at 2 o'clock. So please be here at 2 o'clock to talk about how we evolve our digital government services. Okay? Thank you.